Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am MrWarrenHayes, and I thank you for joining me on this brand new edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show podcast, which is going to be talking about professional wrestling. And I've got so much to talk about tonight. Despite being very thin on news, there's always wrestling stuff to talk about, and I'm glad that you're here. Here where exactly? Well, let's figure this out. If you're on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, which is where I record live every Thursday night, by the way, thank you for being here. Consider subscribing to the channel and leave a like on the video as well. Those things really help out quite a bit. You can also leave a comment. Comments are gold. And that's a really great way to help the channel grow here on YouTube as well. So, hey, Death Before Dishonor is this weekend. Do you have any predictions, or have you watched it at this point? Are we already in the future of that show? What did you like about it? What did you like a little less about it? Have you been watching the G1? Because I've been watching the G1 quite a bit. Check that out. Leave some comments. Those things help out a great deal, and I love talking about wrestling. You guys know this, so I'll chat along with you as well. If you're listening on your favorite podcast application, thank you very much. Little ways you can help: leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That helps out so much. 5-star rating on Spotify, that's great as well. Does your podcast application allow you to follow, subscribe, like, love, whatever you can do to show some love? That would be great as well. Thank you very much in advance for all that kinds of little help. And, you can also subscribe. You can also, subscribe to the MrWarrenHayes Show channel, but you can become a member as well. You get access to some members only streams. You get some emotes as well that you can use if you ever decide to pop into the live chat as well. So that stuff is all great. Of course, don't forget to come and watch everything that we do and read everything that we do and experience everything that we do over at belttobells.com, your women's wrestling wire, BELLTOBELLEES.com. We're right there all the time. And on youtube.com/belttobells for our interviews, or follow us on Twitter at belttobells. All that stuff is great. And it's a lot of great fun as well. And these days, I'm doing my G1 Climax 32. There we go. Over at New Japan. It's tournament season, and I've started my coverage. So whether you're listening to this on a podcast or watching on YouTube, I have some extra content coming your way over the next few days. I'm combining 2 nights of action into one. I've already covered nights 1 and 2 of the G1. So if you want to check those out, go right ahead. They're available on YouTube, on podcast. And look, you just want to hear about the G1 because you don't have time really to watch it. You want match recommendations. You just want to get some deeper analysis. I'm your guy. Follow all of that great stuff. I love tournament season. I love G1 season. It's great. So come along for the ride with me because all of this is fantastic. Tonight, look, we're talking about a bunch of things Ring of Honor related. Death Before Dishonor is going to happen this weekend, so I'm going to do a preview. We're going to talk about the earnings call as well. Of course, review the big Dynamite that happened this week with that very unfortunate main event barbed wire death match. But I'm also going to pull out the good stuff out of that show. Don't worry, we're not going to sit around here and poo-poo on everything. Bit of a G1 recap, some news items. I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for letting me into your homes once again. I've always wanted to say that. I don't know why I haven't said it before. And now it's time to say something nice about Bill Goldberg.
Robin Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
Thanks to Goldberg, Bret Hart has never run out of material to complain about.
Robin Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
What? This is going to be a special one, isn't it? Let's do some news. A bit of a little thing that popped up earlier this week regarding a former NXT UK referee, Artemis. She was on Cultaholic's Desert Island Graps show, hosted by Tom Campbell, and she revealed in April this year that she was no longer with the company. She signed with the company in January 2020 after working over a whole bunch of promotions in Britain and beyond as well. And she had some very interesting things to talk about, specifically about the salary that she had been receiving. She explained, this is what she talked about when explaining her reasoning for departing the brand. Quote, "I'm going to be very blunt and very honest. The pay is a big issue. I've never earned as little money as I did in WWE, which I never thought I would say that. I thought it was going to be my full-time job, and that was going to be it and be great. I took a massive pay cut from being a teacher to being a referee, which is weird considering you're on TV every week in several countries. During my 2 years under contract, almost a year without a contract and 2 years contracted, I offered to do other jobs to help and also to increase the pay, but I got told there was nothing. Just before my contract expired, they offered me a new tier contract. When I asked what the pay was going to be, they said it was going to be the same. I said, I can't do it. I have a mortgage. I take care of my mom. I can't stay on that little money. It's a shame, but I need to take care of my family. They extended my contract for 2 months, hoping to be able to negotiate. And then they came back to me. I was supposed to do one last camp at the end of April. And they just called me a few days before to tell me, quote, you don't want to extend the contract. We have nothing better for you. There is no need for you to come next week. Next week meaning the camp, right? Unquote. I thought that was really shitty. I had already told the wrestlers, the crew, my friends, my family, my referees, that it was highly likely that I wasn't going to renew my contract, but we all knew we had one last camp to spend together, probably say goodbye to each other, and enjoy each other. Also, as I was on 96 WWE matches. One last camp would have brought me to 100 at least, and I'm a bit OCD with numbers, unquote. This is wild. This is wild because she is right. Like, you'd think I'm becoming a referee for the biggest wrestling promotion in the world. You'd think you'd get some kind of salary that would go along with it, because as she said, I'm being broadcast all around the world. Like, I'm probably going to make some good money. I'll probably be able to leave my teacher job. And she makes less money than a teacher? You know what I glean from this? This is what I'm picking up here, okay? This is what I'm picking up here. You know how whenever the cuts would come around in WWE over the past 2 years or so. You know how a bunch of people would get cut, but never, ever anyone from NXT UK, right? I'm convinced, it's still a theory, but I am more and more convinced at this point that the reason why no one gets fired in NXT UK is because NXT UK operates at such a small fraction of the cost of Raw, SmackDown, NXT 2.0, that it doesn't even resonate. It's not even a blip. They probably look at the the spreadsheets, because this is how you look at a spreadsheet. What am I doing? You look at the spreadsheets and it doesn't register. And it's like, well, even if we cut there, it doesn't matter because it probably represents a very insignificant portion of their operating costs. And honestly, if we're getting referees, like on-air talent, not just referees, we're not just like, this is on-air talent. and they can't make a living doing the ref job for the biggest wrestling company in the world? I'm super curious to know what kind of money the talent makes, the wrestlers at this point. It's got to be insignificant compared to what they make in NXT over here. It's got to be ridiculously minute. This is like I said, it just confirms things that I've already tried to reason with myself. And so I was like, well, this is probably why, it's probably because operating costs are so low. They don't tour. It's always the same venue. But now, underpaying people. No disrespect to teachers, right? Because as it's pointed out in the chat, teachers are notoriously underpaid, right? Like from the get-go, this is what makes it so mind-boggling, is that a teacher's salary is like already considered to be very low. And she's making less as a referee, as an on-air talent for an entertainment company on television. Unions. Here's another bit of news that happened this week. Just a tiny little bit of news. Just a little wee bit, tiny bit of news. Kenny Omega is hoping to be at AEW All Out. We learned that earlier this week. It's a report. It's not been confirmed. No one is saying, hey, brother, Kenny Omega is going to be at All Out. It's time for you to buy your tickets. Tickets are still on sale already. Buy them anyway. You can, okay? Maybe sacrifice the goat to make sure you get the tickets. After being I'm going to read an article off of Figure 4 Online, The Observer. After being out of action for over 6 months, former AEW World Champion Kenny Omega is hoping to be back in action at September's All Out. On Wednesday night's Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said, quote, he's hoping to be at All Out, but it's too soon to say that he will or won't. He's hoping for it. That's kind of the target right now. And I love how not everyone, but the places, they ran with this saying, Kenny Omega expected back at All Out. Take a breath now. Meltzer then went on to say that September's show is also the targeted return for AEW World Champion CM Punk, who has been out for nearly 2 months after surgery on what is believed to be his foot. If Punk does return, it's virtually a lock that it will be a title unification match against current interim title holder Jon Moxley. On Tuesday, Fightful reported that an Omega Young Bucks Trios match is tentatively planned for All Out, but Meltzer didn't confirm that on Wrestling Observer Radio. After losing the title to Hangman Page at last November's Full Gear, Omega took time off to have several surgeries for nagging injuries, including his knee, a sports hernia, and more. Sports hernia is always something that makes me laugh. It's like, oh, my sports hurts. It's like, I got the bad sports. I twisted my sport. I know it's not something to laugh at. I understand. But it's a sports hernia. It's like, I don't know. It's the concept that makes me giggle. Look, I'm excited for this. I think, we're all excited to see Kenny Omega come back. No one, I can't say this enough. Injuries in wrestling stink. I want people to have long, hefty, exciting, healthy careers. When anyone has to take a back seat because of bad injuries, surgery, so on and so forth, that always sucks. So if Kenny can be on the mend and mount a return, that's fantastic news. Same for CM Punk. Although that I don't think that was ever out of the question that CM Punk was going to return at this point, or that he wasn't. I don't think anyone questioned whether he was going to return. There, that's the way I wanted it to. That's how I wanted to formulate it in the first place. But my mouth decided to, go down a more convoluted path. So the Young Bucks trios thing with Kenny Omega, that's been in the talks for a while. I don't remember when Tony was talking about this, but he was saying that he was going to wait for Kenny Omega to come back before revealing any trios titles, which made everyone go, oh, well, this is what they're doing, right? This is what they're doing. They're going to reveal the trios titles for Omega and the Bucks. And the surprise loss of the Young Bucks last week on Dynamite, dropping the world titles, the world tag titles to Swerve in Our Glory, sort of added a little fuel to that fire as well. I mean, okay, well, clearly the target for the Bucks is for the Bucks to be free for All Out, so that the trios titles can show up. This is probably the path they want to go. And you know what? This is probably not the thing that anyone wants to hear, but I think Kenny's been setting the table for this. But I don't think it's something that, a lot of Kenny fans want to hear, or people like me who really appreciate his time, his work, his ethics, everything that he's given to the business. The Kenny Omega that comes back will very unlikely no longer be the Kenny Omega from the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? He's probably not going to be able to wrestle like he used to ever again. And of course, that's a shame. I think putting him in a trio to come back, instead of just tossing him into a singles match with the expectations, right, of a high-level Kenny Omega match, I think it's smart and it makes sense. Then you can distribute the action. He doesn't have to carry all of it. He can leave the Jacksons do their part. It makes sense in that field, right? In that vision. Of course, a money match of CM Punk versus Kenny Omega it's exactly what I just said. It's money. It is a cash money feud. That's something that fills out an arena instantaneously. Boom, right? Look, we'll see how things go. Of course, this is all speculation and reports, and Meltzer's quote is the type of Meltzer quote. He's hoping to be at All Out, but it's too soon to say that he will or he won't. He's hoping for it. It's like, yeah, he's gonna be back. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. That's essentially it. It's fine. Gets people excited. I'd assume that Kenny AEW, I would assume that they would not be openly talking about Kenny Omega returning if they didn't have at least an internal timetable, right? If they didn't have like some kind of, I'd assume they wouldn't be throwing that out there willy-nilly. But I don't know. Maybe they could be throwing it out willy-nilly. Willy-nilly. Still on some news. Well, of course, this weekend is going to be the Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view. And of course, as per tradition with anything, Tony Khan has his fingers dipped in. There was a media call today, for today being Thursday, of course, the day that we record the MrWarrenHayes show. There was a media call regarding Death Before Dishonor, and I have decided that we are going to break down a little bit some of the news that was that pulled out, that appeared, that was gleaned from this event. I think the biggest news to come out of all of this is that the Briscoes, Jay and Mark, are signed to long-term Ring of Honor contracts. That's something that Tony Khan confirmed himself out of a question. I think he was asked if any talents were signed to specific ROH contracts, and he said yes, the Briscoes. So first of all, that's fantastic news for the Briscoes. A team 20 years into this, and it's really funny because, hey, by the way, okay, so it's really funny because I don't know, like it's coincidental, but only for WarrenHayes. Earlier this week, I was on the Apron Bump podcast, which is another quality podcast that watches a lot of retro wrestling. And I was invited to chat about Ring of Honor, the Do or Die show from 2003, May 2003, if I'm not mistaken. And on the show, there's the Briscoes who are on the show. 20 years ago, fresh-faced, head shaved, all their teeth, wearing like Harlem Heat-esque singlets in red with flames, and I'm looking at like, and they must have been like 18, 19 years old, Mark and Jay Briscoe. And that leap back in time was just wild to me. Absolutely wild. So this is fantastic. I think this is fantastic for the Briscoes to have another contract set with Ring of Honor. Congratulations to them. I think it's very, very deserving. Now, I think it's also very interesting that these are Ring of Honor contracts as opposed to AEW contracts, right? Which is what Cesaro has, which is what Wheeler Yuta has, which is what Samoa Joe has, and Jay Lethal, and but the Briscoes is a Ring of Honor contract. Tony said that he would eventually do this, right? That that this was something that was to be, that it was something that was to be expected. But the question that I have, right? The question that I have regarding this is, is this in some way, shape, or form tied into this rumor report that had surfaced a month ago at this point, that Time Warner didn't want anything to do with the Briscoes on their TV? Like TNT said, we don't want the Briscoes on our show, or TBS, I don't remember, but Time Warner. And this was before the merger, right? They said, we don't want no Briscoes on our TV. And then why? Well, because Jay Briscoe said some very unfortunate homophobic things years ago, for which he has apologized multiple times for. And look, I think time can change people. I really do. And at some point, I think we have to get off this horse in regards to the Briscoes, because I think they have made peace with it. I think they have done what's needed to be done to apologize, so on and so forth. And when you have people like Effie, who are out there, taking pictures with the guys and saying, I'm good with the Briscoes, I'm okay with you. I think, look, here's the great thing about an apology, right? The great thing about an apology is that you don't have to accept it, right? Someone runs over your cat and says, I'm sorry. You don't have to say, it's all good. Thanks for your apology, right? You can say, son of a bitch, you ran over my cat. That's the good thing about an apology, right? So, everyone is entitled to do what they want with it. I think at this point, there is more than enough that has been done in regards to Jay Briscoe. Because, there was always the question, it's a work, it's to get heat. It's terrible heat, don't get me wrong. It's awful heat, if that's what it was. But if I have, people from the aforementioned slighted community, LGBTQ, I have people in there who are saying, yeah, Jay apologized and we're good with him. So, well, why would I hold a grudge? Why would I, as a middle-aged, white, straight, cisgendered male, hold a grudge if a bunch of people concerned by the slur or the remark have made peace with it, or accept the apology and like, no, everything's cool now. Well, I'll follow suit. I'll put my faith on that level, right? So at some point, my very roundabout way to say, at some point we just got to drop it when it comes to the Briscoes and these past comments / tweets that were made, 10, 12 years ago, when things were still very different than they are today. Now, does it excuse what they did? No, it's still very shitty. It's very shitty regardless of the time period. But I do believe people can change. I do believe people can evolve. I really do. That being said, they're on a Ring of Honor contract, and that's good for them. Well, I'll talk about how I feel that will impact their match against FTR in a little bit. More tidbits from the media call. Tony Khan was also asked if, was there anyone else? And he was specifically asked about Willow Nightingale, who is developing a hell of a following right now. People are very, very hyped for Willow because, well, Willow's fantastic. And we've known this for a while. So I'm glad that everyone's waking up now. So people are like, Tony, you should sign this woman. And he really should. But, he said that he called her a great prospect, quote unquote, a great prospect. So, what does that mean? So he didn't say that he signed her, right? He just said great prospect. So what does that mean? It could mean that he did sign her and just wants to leave the surprise, for, a reveal on Saturday or on an AEW show or whatever. Or he could, she could not also not be signed, which is starting to get ridiculous, if you ask me. He also said during the call, he being Tony Khan, that the roster would grow in Ring of Honor as if they get a television deal. Now, where is that TV deal, Tony? Well, from what we heard on the call, there's nothing to report new, really. He said that he still has ongoing discussions with Time Warner Discovery. He pointed to the fact that the relationship is good, and that Time Warner Discovery are excited. I can't remember the words he used exactly, but they're excited for Ring of Honor content, and the proof being that the shows are on Bleacher Report, so that shows some interest. And of course, that comes with a collective groan from all of my allies down in the United States who have to watch AEW and now Ring of Honor on Bleacher, because apparently Bleacher is a terrible streaming service. BR, right? Apparently it is a shit streaming service. So that's bad news. I think someone asked him, I don't know. I don't know exactly how it came about. I don't remember, but I think someone asked him, well, are you negotiating with anyone else, or is it just like, are you strictly working with Time Warner Discovery? And he didn't make a point of saying, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. He kept that one a little open. He absolutely did not say no. Didn't say yes either. He mentioned that Ring of Honor could go on a TV taping tour once they get television, so that'd be interesting. Early buys indicate that Death Before Dishonor 2022 is on track to be the biggest Ring of Honor pay-per-view business-wise. So, according to his early metrics that he's getting, he's expecting it to do excellent business, the best business that any Ring of Honor pay-per-view has made, which is interesting because if memory serves me right, I believe a Supercard of Honor a couple of months ago, last April, did fantastic business, right? Like, I think that one was the biggest Ring of Honor pay-per-view of all time at that point. So if he thinks he's going to beat that here, well, I think that's good news for Ring of Honor. He also indicated that there would be no rankings in Ring of Honor, which is kind of weird because that was a bit of a staple of Ring of Honor, but I understand why he doesn't want to get into it. He doing that with AEW it's a bit of a cluster right now, if you ask me. I think it's fun, but I think it takes too much space in the conversation. No rankings in Ring of Honor, no shared titles, despite there being synergy between the two companies. And he also commented that Colt Cabana will have a big role in Ring of Honor, but will not address anything from the Fightful report regarding CM Punk and Colt Cabana. Oh, well. I'm glad someone asked him about that, though. That's a bit of an uncomfortable question, but I think it's, I think it's good to know. Because, I speculated here on this podcast that Colt Cabana, that CM Punk coming in was probably not received with the greatest amount of joy from Colt Cabana. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, maybe they'll make up and become friends. And I'm like, brother, they tried to ruin each other financially. Like, it's not just like, hey, let's sit around Tony's campfire and shake hands now. And we're best friends again. There's going to be more needed than that, right? I mean, the report is that Cabana was planned. They were planning on not renewing his contract. But then some people in the back pushed for him. And he was able to keep a spot on Ring of Honor, clearly far away from Phil. Of course, those are reports, right? Nothing confirmed. All right, let's preview this big card then happening this weekend. Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor, July 23rd from the Tsongas not arena. It's a center. It's not an arena. The Tsongas Center in Lowell, Massachusetts. Lowell, Massachusetts, one of the strongholds of Ring of Honor. So it's interesting that we're going back down that path. We got now Tony on the call. Here's something else that he said, that there will probably be more matches added to the Ring of Honor pay-per-view this weekend. Now, I was kind of looking at the composition before we arrived to Dynamite last night, and already there some matches were being added. But we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches before Wednesday night's Dynamite, and I was like, "Isn't this dope? We're gonna have a nice little 5-match pape. It's gonna remind us of the golden days of NXT takeovers, right? Where you're gonna sit down, we're gonna have some, no nonsense, great action, 5 matches. It's gonna be a 2.5, maybe 3-hour pay-per-view, in and out kind of thing. There'll be a little different to the AEW official, like the main AEW pay-per-views, where there's a ton of matches on them. They're 5-hour affairs, and it's like, okay, clear my schedule, Rhonda, because I have to watch the show. So I thought this was interesting. I thought this was very, very interesting. But now started adding some matches, and apparently there's more to come. And I'm like, I don't think we really needed it. I really think, one of the challenges Tony Khan is going to be faced with once he does get his TV, and then he he's like, oh, well then, once we get our TV deal, things are going to start rolling and so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. Right. Once, in the meantime, one of the challenges he has is to separate Ring of Honor from AEW, make it feel like its own thing, right? I think that one of the ways he could have done that is to show that, Ring of Honor isn't about, giving everyone a pay-per-view payday. We're going to put the matches that you want to see on this. We're going to put the matches that people have worked for and who are deserving to be on the card. It's going to be a short, tight little card, but what you're going to get is going to be outstanding, right? And I think that's a good way from the get-go to show, look, we're going to be operating differently here than in AEW. But if we end up with a 8, 9, 10 match card, when it's going to be like, okay, well, tomato, especially considering that a lot of the talent that's on ROH is on AEW as well. So, it's that's the challenge that he has right now, I find. And maybe it will come to fruition better when he does get this long-awaited, waiting with bated breath kind of situation with his with the TV deal. Maybe it will start to take shape, but already, I'm fearing a little pay-per-view bloat here. Anyway, we're going to have a pre-show to kick this off where Willow Nightingale is going to take on Allison Kay, who is a long-time wrestler out there, who's had a good, illustrious career. Maybe some of you know her best as Sienna back in her Impact days. And she's been all over the place. She's also wrestled for TNA. She was one half of the TNA World Women's Champions last year. Not TNA, NWA. What am I talking about? Not TNA. Allison Kay will be taking on Willow Nightingale, who of course is on a big tear right now in AEW. People are really getting excited. Really getting excited for some Willow Nightingale, and we're excited for some Willow Nightingale. Who wouldn't be excited for some Willow Nightingale? She's fantastic. And I think what I like about Willow, and this is what I really like, is that she brings, first of all, she looks different than every other woman that they have on the show, on their entire roster, to be honest. So that's one thing, right? And the other thing, and this is what's really interesting here, is that the way she presents herself, the way she wrestles, it's so extremely different, and her energy is different, and people are really gravitating onto her intangibles, which is that charisma that she has, that amazing connection that she has with the audience, and how she reacts and whatnot. So, people are out there and telling Tony, let's sign this woman, give her a deal, right? Put her on the show permanently, right? So, I think it's something that it's going to be inevitable. I think this is one of these things that absolutely has to happen if Tony Khan does care about his women's division. But Allison Kay, Willow Nightingale, this is a match that will not suck. This is a match that will not, there's no matches that will suck on this card. You know what I mean? There are no matches on this card that will suck. There we go. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, we have was announced last night, the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team titles are going to be on the line. The Righteous the Righteous, who are indeed the current 6-man tag title champs. Vincent, Bateman, and Dutch going to be taking on Dalton Castle and the boys. Dalton Castle, fantastic guy. Absolute. And you will look, still has to this year, still has one of the most legendary pre-tape promos of the year. We cannot forget his DeVay promo that he cut on Jonathan Gresham. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. Was it Jonathan Gresham? No, it wasn't Jonathan. I don't remember who it was cut on, but he was absolutely fantastic. Dalton and the boys versus the Righteous. This will be just interesting to see how this goes, because I absolutely see Dalton Castle he's good for TV. He's good to go. Like, this is a guy, if I'm reforming Ring of Honor, and Tony said, like, the roster is going to be made up of new faces and some Ring of Honor stalwarts. Well, here you have Dalton Castle, former Ring of Honor world champion, as stalwarty as he could be, a guy who has a lot of showmanship. He has a lot of naturals, great charisma. Maybe, he's dealt with back injuries that keep him from wrestling like he was many years ago, but still a very entertaining guy. Put him there in there with the boys versus the Righteous. This should be a lot of fun. Kristen's favorite trio right now, Vincent, Bateman, Dutch. She really likes them. But this should be a lot of fun, and it will be very interesting to see who wins and how the 6-man titles are treated moving forward. Because I think all of us were a little caught off guard when this was announced. We're like, oh shit, they're bringing them back. Right? Because they had brought back the women's title, the world title, the TV title, the pure title, the tag titles. And then boom, here we are. We're back with the trios titles as well. Fantastic. Yeah, Dalton and Young was absolutely an epic feud. Good stuff. I don't see why, if you have Dalton Castle at your fingertips, right? I just go ahead and Ring of Honor Women's World Title match. Mercedes Martinez, the champ, will be taking on Serena Deeb in another match that will not suck. All you need to know about this here is that you have two of the most accomplished women pro wrestlers out there. Pro wrestlers out there who will be having a match, and women who have had I wouldn't say identical, but who came up at the same time, who have parallel career paths. Both wrestlers in an era where women's wrestling, as it was represented on television, right, wasn't given, was all about, bra and panties and evening gown matches and all of that, while women like Mercedes and Serena were actually wrestling, were going hard in Shimmer and on the indies and trying to bring some credibility to women's wrestling. So they are cut from the same cloth. They've walked the same paths. They have, like I said, very, very similar career directions. So this potentially has all the potential to be the show stealer, to be the sneaky match that everyone's like, I don't think anyone is sitting around going, this match is going to stink, but this has the potential to elevate itself and be like, holy shit, look at what happened here. Now, who do I think is going to win here? If you ask me, I'd keep the belt on Mercedes because I'm a big Mercedes fan. I think there's still use for Serena Deeb on AEW more than anything else, but maybe this would give her a little more credibility. I don't know. It's a hard one to call. I think there's good in both decisions here. But if you're putting a gun to my head, please don't, though. Go with I go with Mercedes Martinez retaining. Ring of Honor World Television title match. Samoa Joe, the champion, taking on Jay Lethal. I could not care less. I could not care less. Like, I am excited for this thing to move on. Now, I'm not an idiot. I know how things are. Okay? Samoa Joe was hurt. Had to take some time off, whatever. I know that this feud was stretched out probably a little further than what was first anticipated. But literally every week, and sometimes twice a week, Dynamite, Rampage, you got Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh, who were doing pre-tapes. Saying, Samoa Joe, we know that we're going to beat you. Samoa Joe, you know, we're going to beat you. Samoa Joe, week after week after week. I am so tired of this because it is boring. I cannot wait for everyone to move on from this. I think Jay Lethal captures the title, which is whatever. But we got to move on from this. Like, this is enough's enough. Enough's enough. And you know what the irony here is? You know what the ultimate irony here, though? Here's the ironic part here. Because like I said, I'm thinking Jay Lethal's going to win the title, right? I think he's going to win the title. When Ring of Honor was in dire straits and was, shutting down last year, Jay Lethal was one of the first guys to hit the bricks. He's like, nah, jump out of the sinking ship and get a deal with AEW, right? He was one of those who did not stick around to the very end. And he's right back into Ring of Honor. And there's some delicious, delicious irony to that, folks. Ring of Honor pure title match. Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia. If you haven't already seen Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia for the IWTV Independent World Heavyweight title. It's not a heavyweight title. It's just a world title. Which they fought for last year, just before Garcia got the contract with AEW. You should absolutely go check it out. It is a 60-minute Iron Man match that is absolutely worth your while. So I'm going off of that. Coming into this match here, Yuta and Garcia, two guys again who coming up in the indies around the same time and know each other well. They fought each other multiple times. And now they're entering the Ring of Honor sphere under the Pure Rules, which is one of the cornerstones of Ring of Honor. I think this match is going to, as they say down around my parts, this match is going to fucking rule. I'm very excited for this. Now the question is, what do you do? Do you put the belt on Garcia, or do you keep it on Yuta a little more? Conventional logic. And Chad, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. In regards to strapping Garcia or having Yuta retain. Now, because I'd say conventional wisdom would tell us that since right now Dan Garcia is doing he's doing the sports entertainer shtick with Chris Jericho and that whole thing. Maybe it's not the best fit for the pure title, right? Which is a work rate belt, right? That's the thing. It's for, pro wrestlers. I think it's interesting to have to have him. I think, like I said, conventional logic would dictate that you just don't do that. You don't do it because it doesn't make sense. But the fact that it doesn't make sense makes sense. Because Jericho's thing is that, sports entertainers are superior to pro wrestlers. Well, if you have a sports entertainer come in and win the pro wrestlers title, right? The work rate nerds title. Well, that's a bit of an insult to pro wrestling fans. And it's also very much a cap in the feather of the Jericho Appreciation Society. But then again, I think Yuta hasn't grown into the title yet. I think it would be doing him a disservice coming back from, the Best of Super Juniors, having such a great 2022 so far. I think there's still a lot of momentum behind him. And just the fact that, like I said, he hasn't grown into the title yet, I would hang on a little bit. I wouldn't have him drop it yet. Not yet, because it still fits. It fits the sheen of the Blackpool Combat Club. And, I think, I really believe that Daniel Garcia's time is going to come. It's going to come probably sooner than we realize, but it's going to be fantastic. But we'll see. We'll see. My heart says keep it on Utes, but there's a bit of a part of me who enjoys a good heel story that says strap sports entertainer Daniel Garcia. I'm excited to see how. I'm excited to look at this. Is going to be a good match regardless. I'm excited for it. Ring of Honor Tag Team title best 2 out of 3 falls. FTR, current champs, will be defending against the Briscoe Bros, Jay and Mark. I think I mentioned this, but I'm gonna make sure that this is very, very super fucking clear as goddamn crystal here. Don't wait if you have the match. If you have the match, put it on. If people want it, put it on. Would I have waited another year for the Briscoes and FTR? Sure, absolutely. It makes the heart grow fonder, right? But as opposed to another company who always waits for the, fucking Venus and Mars and Mercury to be aligned in retrograde before giving the matches that make the most sense, before putting on the big matches that make sense, do this match while you have it, right? Do the rematch while you have it. Cash, Dax, they're healthy. Mark, Jay, they're healthy. Let's fucking go. Let's do it again. This pay-per-view sells itself on just off the backs of their match of the year that they had in April. Everything else is gravy. But this is the match that everyone is like, well, fuck yeah. Why wouldn't you do it? Oh, I would have waited. I would have given it some build. What kind of build do you need to a tag team match between 2 teams, 4 guys who want to wrestle and to want to win the titles, who want to prove that they are the best, which is essentially what all pro wrestlers want to do because they're pro fighters. I tweeted out after the Dax promo last night on Dynamite. That's how you sell a pay-per-view. That's how you sell a pay-per-view. After his promo. You don't have to give me months of build, of twists and turns and stories on, whoop, they're showing up on the chicken farm. And although, the chicken farm shit can be fun, don't get me wrong. But they're showing up on the chicken farm, and now they're over at Dax's place. They're breaking into his house, and all that bullshit is bullshit. When ultimately the match here sells itself based on the fact that we are getting 4 professional wrestlers who are at the top of their craft, who are at the top of their game, and who are ready to give us another extraordinary tag team match like we got a couple of months ago. Let's fucking go. That's all you need. You need Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. You need Dax Harwood in the ring saying, I'm doing this for my 8-year-old kid who had a hole in her heart that can only be filled by you, wholehearted. Listen, if anyone got that reference, let me know and I'll buy you a drink sometime. But he was talking about his little girl. He said, this is my legacy. I'm doing this for her. They do a sit-down promo on social media with the Briscoes on one side and FTR on the other. And they're trying to have a nice civil conversation, but they can't have a nice civil conversation because they're egomaniacs. They're alphas. All they want to do is beat the shit out of each other because they want to prove who's the best. That's all I need. There's the story. AEW doesn't do stories. The story is simple. That's the story. And let them wrestle a match that you will remember. That you will remember. Instead of months of acknowledge me and where you won't remember a single fucking match. This match is going to rule. 2 out of 3 falls. Look, who cares if it's better than their match of the year or not? Like, who cares? We got a fucking match of the year. It cannot not be good. What we are going to sit down here and watch this weekend, it's going to be fantastic. But I know there's going to be people who are going to be like, well, what a disappointment. This wasn't a match of the year candidate. It doesn't have to be. We already got it. Fucking excited for this match. What are you talking about? I've been excited since they started talking about it. I'm telling you, I'm not an easy man. I'm not an easy man to, no, excuse me. I am an easy man to please when it comes to my pro wrestling. Just put people who are going to invest themselves in their craft. Just people who are great pro wrestlers, and just let them do their thing. Let them cut promos. Let them fight each other. Let them sell me a ticket to the show. That's all. Don't get me wrong now. A nice pro wrestling story can also be good, right? Eventually, CM Punk and MJF won me over on their thing. That's fine. You know, the long-term storytelling of Hangman Page is fantastic, right? Whatever the fuck they're doing with Ezekiel, I couldn't be bothered. I couldn't be bothered with that bullshit. I couldn't be bothered for a second. Like, I don't know what that is. It's a complete distraction as to why we are doing this. Or Max Dupree and his male models. Like, all of this is nonsense. It's superfluous. It distracts from the reason we should be watching wrestling. Anyway, this match is going to rule. Now, okay, so if we get into predictions now. Before today, July 21st, I was coming in here and I was saying, it's got to be FTR. You got to stick with 7-star FTR. That's what you want. You want them to get into All Out, and and I'm still thinking the Bucks or whatever, but do they start dropping titles just yet? I don't think so. But you've got yourself I lost my train of thought. before today, you got yourself the Briscoes, who just signed a contract, a long-term contract with Ring of Honor. Now I'm starting to say, well, now. And they're exclusive to Ring of Honor, right? It's not an AEW contract. I'm like, well, now, doesn't this muddy the waters a little bit? Doesn't it suddenly make it a little more logical to put the Ring of Honor straps on the guys who, first of all, you know, are absolutely 100% associated with Ring of Honor and who just signed the contract? And the Briscoes, they hit the indies. They do a whole different circuit, right? So they hit the indies. They're going around with the Ring of Honor titles. I'm not so sure that FTR hangs on to the titles this weekend. I'm not so sure. I kind of like it. I like that I'm not so sure anymore. I think this is going to make for some fantastic drama in this 2 out of 3 falls match. I hope this match gets more than 15 minutes. It probably will. It's a hard one to call. I think, as far as booking goes, if you're just thinking in the FTR bubble, I don't see them dropping it. But that little wrinkle now with the Briscoes, this little wrinkle here. I wouldn't be so sure if FTR retains. Either way, the real winners in this match are the fans. And finally, the Ring of Honor World title match. We've got Jonathan Gresham, the champ, accompanied to the ring by Tully Blanchard, taking on Claudio Castagnoli. All right. Look, Jonathan Gresham is Ring of Honor. I think, he's the guy from over the past 10 years or so who's been the most identified with Ring of Honor, right? For the pure style, for everything that Ring of Honor represents. I think he's the guy, right? Now, as far as this next step in Ring of Honor's evolution, I think you give the title to Claudio. And this is no slight on Jonathan Gresham, who carried the title like a champ, like a true champ, and was there with Ring of Honor beyond the end. I think he took a lot of pride being the champ, and that's great and all. But if I'm Tony Khan and here's what I want to do. If I'm Tony Khan and I'm starting back and I'm reigniting the flame of Ring of Honor, right? I want to make Ring of Honor the center of the world of the center of the world of attention, the attention center of the world. I want to bring the world of attention to the center. I want to bring back Ring of Honor as the center of attention for great wrestling, like work rate, talent, in-ring based wrestling. And I want to draw eyeballs to it. I want to bring in fans that maybe never watched a Ring of Honor Ring of Honor card before, maybe for multiple reasons, but I want to bring them in. I make my guy Claudio, who is a Ring of Honor stalwart, right? Who has the work ethic, the talent to be a proud representative of the brand, right? But on top of that, he's recognized. He is recognizable. He is on top of that. He is the representation of wrestling fans who were disillusioned at WWE for how he was being used. The hardcores who knew Cesaro deserved better. Well, have Cesaro do better. Give him something better. Give him his very first world title, which is something that everyone is going to get excited about. This is, if anything, it's a PR move, Tony. If anything, it's a PR move. Because this is the kind of thing where Tony Khan can be like, look, myself, all these years, I've been watching Claudio, I've been watching Cesaro, and I've been saying, and I'm just like you guys, I recognize that the Fed didn't know what the fuck they were doing with him. They didn't know what they had with him. They pretended that he was great. They pretended he wasn't great, excuse me. And I know you guys, fans, I'm with you. Here we go. Here's the belt. I'm with you. It's a great PR move, but it also makes sense. I think it makes sense to ignite this new era of Ring of Honor with a new champ, and a champ that, Christ, is beloved. Who hates Cesaro? Who hates Claudio? Like, but I'm asking seriously. And honestly, if anyone has that question, has an answer to that, please tell me, like, hates him. Like, I can't stand this guy. He's horrible. I haven't met, I don't know. Oh, look, we're talking outside of, diehard WWE fans who disavow any wrestler who leaves the Fed, right? And then suddenly they become the worst wrestler on earth. We're talking like, intelligent, well put together, smart, MrWarrenHayes show type listeners, right? Okay, Eddie Kingston. Touche. But you know what I mean. This is like, it's going to get universal acclaim, and it's going to re-energize the brand. Again, nothing against Jonathan Gresham, but I think Claudio's inherent star power, his inherent fan base is going to be a tipping point. I think Claudio gets the belt. I'm excited for this. I am excited for this match. I'm excited for this card. And like I said at start, I hope they don't add too many matches on it, because that's not what we need. We don't need, well, like I said at first, right? Give us a leaner card than the AEW ones. That can be part of the Ring of Honor brand. The pay-per-views are so they're lean, they're concise. This is what you're getting, kind of thing. You're in and out, instead of this huge bloat. I'm excited for Caprice and Ian back on the mic. I'm excited. Let's go. G1 Climax 32, a little update. I'm not going to go deep into the night so far, because as you might know, if you are subscribers to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel on YouTube, or if you follow me on your favorite podcast application, I have started doing my G1 coverage for the G1 32. So I'm going to keep doing it, combining 2 nights of action into one review. So that's where I'll go really a little more in depth, talking about the matches, talking about the nights, the standings, so on and so forth. But if you want an update, a little overview, a little taste, I can tell you that night 1 of the G1 was very good. I thought it was a very, very good best foot forward type situation, and gave us the baseline straight out the gate with, okay, well, this is what a great G1 match is going to have to be, kind of thing. Where El Fantasma versus Will Ospreay on night 1 was fantastic. Just an absolutely fantastic match where I was like, okay, so this is our baseline. This is what everything else has to compete with, kind of thing. So night 1 was a lot of fun. Night 2, better. It was a better night. We got 2 fantastic matches. Tomohiro Ishii and Taichi had an absolutely fantastic beat 'em up, but Kenta and Zack Sabre Jr. Holds me down. I'm just getting hotter thinking about it. That was even better than ELP Ospreay. Like that was the first really top-notch, really great match of the G1. Just fantastic stuff. Night 3, dismal. You know what kind of night you're into when not even Tetsuya Naito can save it. That was not good. Dismal. But I'm not going to get into it because I haven't recorded my thoughts yet for night 3 because night 4 is going to be this Saturday. So coming up this Saturday, I will then release the audio on what I thought about night 3. But spoiler alert, it stinks. It was a bad night of wrestling. It was a bad night of wrestling. It was one of the worst nights of wrestling in the history of our sport. It wasn't good at all. So you can completely skip that. But for the time being, ELP Ospreay on night 1. And you know what? They gave out night 1 of the G1 for free. So you literally have no excuse. You can absolutely go ahead and enjoy that match. Ishii Taichi from night 2, but Kenta, Zack Sabre Jr. just beat the hell out of him. Blech. Blech. Night 3. Blech. Kind of like spam fritters. Night 3 was the spam fritters of the G132. But look, it's a strong start nonetheless. Look, and here's the thing also that's very interesting that I'm realizing as I'm doing the recording and as I'm talking about it now, the coverage is changing on how we cover the G1 because there's 28 people. There's 4 blocks of 7 guys. And so there's reflexes that we'd have where it's like, oh, okay, well, he had a loss. He loses the first. And Kevin Kelly pointed this out during the broadcast. Like, in years past, when you'd have block A, block B, you'd have 10 guys per block. You'd lose the night, you'd lose a second night, you'd be like, okay, well, whatever. And then, it would be still plausible for someone to have like a come from behind winning streak, and just gobble everything up in the block moving forward. But here's another thing. But now there's 7 dudes in a block. So someone who loses a match is instantly in trouble because then they have to win their 6 other matches really if they want to stay, or at least multiple matches to stay in contention. Because if they lose a second match, they're almost toast at this point, right? Even 1 loss, 2 losses can be a death sentence for someone in a block. Like I've already posited on one of my on my night of coverage for the G1. I've already posited that Jonah, by virtue of his first loss and who he has left to fight in Block A, he's probably not going to win the block. I don't think anyone was expecting really Jonah to win the block, but to win block A, but just by virtue of him losing, just by virtue of him losing that one match, you sort of look at everything else and you're like, okay. He's a little screwed right now. I'm trying to find the blocks here real quick, just to make sure I'm not saying complete nonsense. But see, he lost his first match to Toru Yano, which was a complete shock to me. He lost his first match. If you want to hear my full thoughts, listen. You can give it a listen. So he lost his first match to Toru Yano, right? Who's left in this block with him? Who's in this block? You've got Kazuchika Okada, you've got Bad Luck Fale, Lance Archer, Jeff Cobb, and Tom Lawler, right? So just by pure analysis here, right? I'm looking at Jonah, I'm like, look, Bad Luck Fale is a score for him. I'm absolutely convinced he's going to beat him, right? Tom Lawler, maybe playing on the size difference, I don't know. But he's not beating Kazuchika Okada. He's not beating Jeff Cobb. And he's probably not going to beat Lance Archer. That's how I'd book it anyway. So that's 3 victories for him. And he already has 1 loss plus 2 others so he ends with, an even score with, 6 points essentially, which will be completely insufficient for him to win the block. So it's interesting how it's different now to think about how it's very interesting to think how our coverage of this is going to change, right? And look, Tetsuya Naito might be in danger too. Look, because Naito lost his match to Hiroki Goto, which has the G in G1 returned to standing for Goto? Are we back with that now? And he has a stacked block as well. He's got Kenta, Evil, Zack Sabre Jr., Hinare, which should be an easy, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And Naito, that's a stacked crew that he has to go through. And he's already 1 loss behind. He might be in trouble. I think he has, there's an argument that, he could probably defeat everyone in the block. He really could. And this being his only loss, but he's in a little more of a precarious situation. So it's interesting on that point. I find the G1 this year fascinating because of how our coverage has to be adapted. I'm digging it though. So I'm excited to see what as it stands, and it's even hard to talk about standings at this point because not everyone has had a match yet. The blocks aren't even full. Like right now, in A block, right? Okada, Yano, Fale, Bad Luck Fale all won their matches. B block, Jay White, Taichi, Tamatanga all won their matches. C block, Hinare, Zack Sabre Jr., Hiroki Goto. D block, Ospreay, Rock Hard, Juice Robinson, and Yujiro Takahashi. The team all won their matches. So that's interesting. And there's still there's people who aren't going to have their matches until much later. And then just in a couple of days, Okada and Yano are already going to have their second match. While there's people who won't even have debuted yet in their block. Wild. Let's talk about what's coming up. Night 4, Saturday, July 23rd, Ota City Gymnasium. Not Oka. That's a place around here that does excellent cheese, though. Check it out. Ota City Gymnasium. C block action will be Zack Sabre Jr. versus Aaron Hinare. D block will be Yoshihashi versus Shingo Takagi. A block will be Kazuchika Okada versus Toru Yano. And in the B block, Tomohiro Ishii versus Jay White. Night 5 will be Sunday, July 24th, again from Ota City. El Fantasmo versus Yujiro Takahashi. That's a beam. Sonata versus Taichi. Jeff Cobb versus Bala Fale for Block A. And Block C will be Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Tetsuya Naito. So we're going to get that one out of the way fairly quickly. If Naito loses this, it's going to be rough. Night 6, Be Tuesday, July 26th, excuse me. Heading back to Tokyo, Korakuen Hall. B Block will be Great Okan having his first G1 match of the year against Chase Owens. Kenta versus Evil, who will also be debuting here. Evil for C Block. Tom Lawler and A Block will be taking on Lance Archer. Tom Lawler will have his very first G1 match as well. And the main event of D Block is going to be Dave Finlay versus Rock Hard Juice Robinson. My God, pal. Night 7 will be again in Korakuen Hall. D Block will be represented by Will Ospreay versus Yujiro Takahashi. The Toriano versus Bad Luck Fale for A Block. C Block will be Hiroki Goto versus Aaron Hanare. And B Block is going to be Tomohiro Ishii versus Tamatanga. Jesus Christ. Night 7 is going to make me cry. God bless Will Ospreay if he can get anything out of that sack of shit Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp. I'm looking forward to that. Of course, continued coverage of the G1. Look, I don't want to toot my own horn too much because there's a lot of people who do excellent coverage of the G1, right? There's tons of, and people who've been doing it far longer than I have. But between us, I do a really good job at it too. and I'm committed and I love the G1. And I'd be hard pressed to say I'd be hard pressed to say I'm not one of the better I'm not one of the better G1 coverages out there. There's a lot of people who cover, but maybe not quite like I do. So subscribe to the channel, put the bell on if you want to learn more about the G1. Look, here's reasons why you should listen to my coverage. You want to hear talk about the G1 because maybe you don't watch it, you don't have time to, and you want to hear like what's going on, you want to keep up. I'm your guy. Maybe you just want to hear some match recommendations. I'm your guy. Maybe you want to hear implications. You want to start thinking about, talk about theories and what's coming up. I'm your guy. You're gonna cover, get all of that covered. Maybe you just want to taste. You want to keep. Maybe you're completely new to New Japan. Well, I'm not gonna treat you like a moron if you've never watched a G1 in your life. How about that? AEW Dynamite. The Dynamite that happened last night. What did I think of the show? I'm going to tell you. God, and I say it often, we're spoiled, guys, gals, non-binary pals, every week on Wednesdays with Dynamite because we do have the best week-to-week professional wrestling show. And on a night like last night, if it wasn't for the great professional wrestling that we got, I'm not sure I'd be sitting here with a smile on my face. I really don't. What was good was good. But there's a lot of iffy and there's some shit. Overall, I watch the show for the pro wrestling, right? That's why I watch it. Give me pro wrestling, I'll be happy. And we got that straight off the bat. Brody King defeated Darby Allin. Now, the mission that Darby Allin was on here, in case you weren't paying attention, was to make Brody King look like $1 million. Make him look like a monster. That's what he was given as indications by whoever was producing this match, whoever put it together, TK, Mark Henry, I don't know who produces matches in AEW. I don't know. Whoever did, they were told, Darby, you have to sell your ass off for Brody. Brody has to look like $1 million. And Darby's like, oh, cool, he's my pal. They are friends. Brody King has not looked better or stronger since debuting in AEW than he did last night. mission accomplished. Now, was this I saw tremendous amounts of praise for this match. I thought it was a lot of fun. This was a fun match, you guys. But I think I think a lot of people were adding an extra coat of icing to this very, very delicious cake. You're like, no, you're going overboard at this point. Darby gets chopped down early on. He does a diving crossbody that bounces off Brody King, which was great. King grabs Darby by the waist of his pants and just swings him around in a fantastic visual. Like it is real worthy as far as visuals go. I thought it was great. He launches Darby into the barricades. Darby tries to fight back, but he's overpowered. He eats some sentons. Darby hits his missile suicide dive, which is completely insane every single time. Hits a code red as well. King hits a running DVD into the corner, which was great. Then at some point, both men are on the apron. Darby tries to do the flipping stunner. It's blocked. Brody King chokes him out on the apron, feet dangling, sort of like a callback to the battle royal. I wanted to call it something else. So he's choking him out, dangling, off the apron, and Darby sort of passes out, and Brody drops him. Darby makes his way back to the ring before the 10 count, but eats a gonzo bomb as he comes in. He's dead. Darby Allin died. So Brody King could run. Like I said, I thought this was a fun match. And I thought it was a fun match. I enjoyed it. Hot match to start off Dynamite. It's one of Wednesday night's greatest traditions. Dynamite starting off with a hot match. That's all you want, really. I just think people went a little overboard. I just think people went a little overboard with their appreciation of this match. Darby did a hell of a job, don't get me wrong. Brody King just ate him up. This is great stuff. After the match, Brody King draws out Sting because he's threatening Darby, and Sting comes out to defend him. We get the blood, and the lights go black. Sabu, no, not Sabu. Malachi Black from the darkness missed Sting right in the face. Then Miro comes out and stares down the House of Black. They've been teasing, or at least Miro's been teasing, am I on your side or am I your enemy? Why? Not why, but no, I'm not going to ask the question. I'm just going to put out a statement. Have Miro wrestle more, maybe? There you go. Joe Poulin Jr. of the Two Beards, gentlemen. Nice to see you, Joe. Welcome to by the way, Love Wrestling this weekend. Love Wrestling over that guy, that Spencer Love guy. Big shot promoter now out in Edmonton, Alberta. He's at the Love Wrestling Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Love Wrestling CA. They're going to be doing a 24-hour fundraiser to raise money for abortion rights organizations in the United States. And they're doing a 24-hour thing. And the JPJ and Pluggo, the Between Two Beards guys, have invited me to join them for breakfast on Saturday morning on their stream. So make sure to check it out, or check out the Love Wrestling stream at any given moment. Hop in, donate, just fantastic stuff that Spencer and all the crew over there at Love Wrestling are going to be doing. So, and if anything, come have breakfast with us. I'm planning on having French toast with bananas, probably some berries, whatever's in season. I think strawberries at this time of year are in season. Maybe some raspberries, something like that. Maple syrup, and some coffee, some fantastic coffee, of course. That's what I'm planning on doing, as opposed to what exactly. I might just end up having a bowl of Frosted Flakes. Who the fuck knows? Or maybe I should make some spam. some breakfast spam fritters. That sounds yummy. Next, we had another match. Straight into another match. Blackpool Combat Club, represented by Jon Moxley, the interim world champion, and Wheeler Yuta, the Ring of Honor Pure champion, defeated the Best Friends team of Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta. This was a good match, you guys. This was match of the night for me. Fantastic stuff. Great showing by everyone here. Everyone showed up for this match. Everyone worked their ass off. Feeding all of the old Yuta time in Best Friends, which is fantastic. Yuta calls in Chucky T to wrestle, who obliges, but then Trent comes back in and he goes hard. He goes really, like, he never liked Wheeler, right? He never liked them. It just goes right straight hard at him, and it's fantastic. And to the point, right? He's beating up Yuta in the ropes, right? And referee's trying to get the break. Chucky T comes in, sort of tells him to back off, because Chucky at this moment is sort of like he's feeling bad. It's his old pal Yuta, but Yuta's like, I don't need you to tell me. I don't need your help. Fuck off, Chuckworth. And then they just start wailing on each other. A nice little punctuation, a nice little wrap up to all of the Best Friends Yuta defection stuff. Trent tosses Yuta into the barricades. Half and half soul food combo by Best Friends as well. Mox comes in. He lariats the shit out of Trent. Hammer and anvil elbows, tosses Chucky T over the timekeeper's table. Mox catches a flying Trent with an ace crusher. Jon Moxley eats an awful waffle by Chucky T. When's the last time you saw an awful waffle on AEW television? Couple of pile drivers, hot tag to Yuta. German suplex by Yuta. Dude buster by Trent. Yuta gets a triangle choke on Trent while Mox is on the outside on the floor with Chucky T. He ties him up. Seatbelt gets the win for our boy Utes. And in the meantime, Daniel Garcia is watching backstage because of the Pure title match, right? Just great stuff. Great stuff. I love it. Loved every minute of this match. This is what I'm saying. Thank God I get stuff like this. Because after that, we got a championship celebration in the ring. The championship celebration. Oh, and there's a cake and some bubbly. And I start to cringe. Instantly. Championship celebrations. What does that remind you of? They cut promos. Keith Lee and Swerve do. That's fine. Cut some promos. Reveal a new t-shirt. It's all good. Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling arrive with the petition to kick Swerve Scott, Swerve Strickland, Isaiah Swerve Scott. Remember that guy? Here's the throwback. Sterling says that he got lucky with their win last week, and Keith is just lucky that Swerve didn't stab him in the back. And he's out here with the petition to have rapper Kevin Gates, who is at ringside, to have rapper Kevin Gates sign the petition. Kevin Gates, the same rapper who admitted to having sex with his cousin, and they're still cool, they're still good friends. I'm not making this shit up. But he refuses to sign the thing, and he steps up to Sterling. Nese pops in. He punches Tony Nese right in the jaw. Nice goes down. Swerve grabs the celebration cake and he plows it over Mark Sterling's face. What a great sports entertainment segment we got there, folks. I was not impressed. I've seen this before in many different iterations within another company, and I didn't like it there. Didn't care for it much here either. Calling out the celebrity that's in the audience, have him get involved. And here's the thing that I'm hoping for. Here is the thing that I am mostly hoping for. And honest to God, okay, two things. First of all, I hope everyone who enjoyed the cake all the multiple times that WWE does it. All right, I really do. Second of all, if a rapper, a non-athlete, a non-athlete, a non-pro fighter is going to lay out one of your wrestlers with one punch, I hope they're building a match to this. I hope they're building a match. Because this guy who had sex with his cousin just laid out Tony Nese, who is a legit pro fighter, who is a great pro wrestler. All for the sake of giving this guy a spot? What is this going to do? Why would I not be sitting here being critical of this kind of move here? I'd be doing it if the other company did it. 100%, because it's the same. I don't see the return on this unless they build a match. Unless they're building a match. But if this was a one-off, and I hope they never do it again. I'm telling you guys, if I want to watch sports entertainment, there's a whole other show that does that 7 hours a week. 7 hours a week. I can tune in and get all the talk shows and all the cakes and all the wacky squirt guns that I want on a regular basis. I'm not here for this shit. Tony Schiavone's backstage and he's interviewing the Beaver Boys and Butcher and the Blade and John Silver. He says that Butcher is his favorite wrestler because he's the meat man. So Butcher, your favorite wrestler. And he has a t-shirt for him and it's written Butch on it. Now, I don't know. Do you guys think that's a knock on WWE's Butch? On FKA Pete Dunne? Reynolds has a t-shirt for the Blade, but it's matching. It says Butch nonetheless, and Butcher and the Blade are like, what the hell are we doing with these two goofs? And they beat the shit out of them. Hangman Page makes the save. I enjoyed this. Short, stupid. It was short, stupid, and then the team that was supposed to think this is stupid decided to beat him down. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Love it. Now, earlier in the evening, I'm talking about it now because the match is coming up, but earlier in the evening, Tony Schiavone interviewed Cole Carter. And at least he started to interview him, and then Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs show up and they start making references to sleeping with the fishes because, he was 2 dimes in the Tony D'Angelo thing in NXT 2.0, and he was murdered. He was thrown overboard into the lake sleeping with the fishes, and now he's on Shark Week. You get it? Anyway, Ricky Starks basically says that he's been FTW champion for over a year for very good reasons, and it's not going to change tonight. And we get the match. We'll talk about the match now. We'll go right ahead and do that. We'll talk about the match now. It was fine. You know, like I don't think there's much to talk about in regards to, like, it was fine. outside of Cole Carter being 2 dimes and being murdered on NXT, a bit of the inside joke for all us smart fans. There was no other reason to get really excited, was there? Because look, I thought Carter came off as being very nervous, a little green, not gonna lie. And I really did wonder why was this dude featured on Dynamite outside the fact that, Tony Khan, just likes to open the doors to anyone who gets kicked out of the PC. You know what I mean? Like, there's a pattern of this. Like, this is, it's not anything new. And on top of that, a guy who was kicked out because he failed a wellness test. I was just saying. So, because and again, nothing specifically against Cole Carter outside of my, utter disinterest. It's just that, there's so many guys on this roster that exist right now who could have answered this open challenge and who have much more polish and presence than Cole Carter, right? Sean Dean, Lee Johnson, Lee Moriarty, Kip Sabian, Griff, And I'm like, look, and I'm Kip Sabian, honest to God, okay? I'm Kip Sabian, who's been trying to stay alive in this company for months at this point, doing a gimmick with a box on my head in the audience, trying to stay as relevant as I can. And I see this guy coming in for a match, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I completely would understand any dude on the roster, any of the younger dudes on the roster being like, what the fuck is going on here? I don't get it. I don't understand what value Cole Carter brought to this open challenge outside of popping a small circle, a tiny wee circle of people who understood that this is the guy from NXT 2.0. The show that technically no one apparently listens to? And how should we know who this guy is? That's just because we're smart and we're able to connect, but you know what I mean? Outside of just doing a flex, I don't know why this guy was brought in. I really don't. Not in this position. And it's not like Cody, when Cody did the open challenge, it would be a mixture of guys on the roster when he was TNT champion, and of course what I'm referring to, there was a mix of guys on the roster and well-known indie stars, right? You'd have well-known indie guys, Warhorse coming in, Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston. Like, I'd bring back the who the fuck is Griff Garrison to who the fuck is Cole Carter. I don't know, man. It was a weird one for me. But here's the silver lining in this. Ricky Starks fucking rules. This guy gives it his all every single time this is a guy who goes by the adage of when the camera is on you, you have to eat every single second they give you. And he does. He gives everything to the camera as soon as it's pointed on him. He is outstanding. I was disappointed that he and Hobbs didn't get the titles last week because personally, I thought the Starks, Hobbs, Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland stuff was fantastic. And I think it was a collection of those elements, but Starks and Hobbs made it so special. I get they're not the bigger stars now, but Jesus. And he's outgrown the FTW title, if we're being honest at this point. We've really got to boost him up out of that element. Anyway, Danhausen shows up. This is where I think this is going to be going. Danhausen shows up to be the next challenger, right? Because Ricky immediately after the match is like, hey, whoever wants to step up, step up. So Danhausen's music hits. Huge reaction, of course. And he says, I'm going to be the next challenger for the FTW title. But Stark says, okay, sure, but not tonight. The crowd boos. And and Ricky Stark says, why are you booing? Or something to the effect of, why are you booing? You'll be able to watch the match at home. So I'm like, this is great. Right? It's like every week when it's like, boo, but not tonight. Well, why is that such a heel move? You're still going to get the match. You're still going to watch it. I love that. But of course, when I say that we have to move him away from the FTW title, we are close. We are moving through this Danhausen challenge to Starks versus Hook. It's going to be an implosion of Team Taz. It's going to be Taz with it's going to be Taz who's going to have to choose between his own son and Ricky Starks, his number one protege. I think it's great. The story tells itself, right? That right there is a great all-out mid-card match right there. That is fantastic. Lower mid-card, and not even lower mid-card in a disparaging sense. It's a lower mid-card that will have so much interest built up into it. It's fantastic. I'm excited for that. I forgot to mention when William Regal was on commentary and he was referring to Taz as Mr. Maniac, made me pop. That for William Regal, Taz Maniac is a first name and a last name. Everyone calls him Taz, but his last name is Maniac, Mr. Maniac, Taz Maniac. I thought that made me pop. Christian Cage and Luchasaurus defeated the Varsity Blondes. This is not about the match. Of course, it has nothing to do with the match. It's about the return of Jungle Boy, who comes out after the match, after Christian Cage basically weasels his way into winning for his team. Now, I don't understand this. I really don't. I really don't. And I guess I'm going to need an extra week before I understand why Luchasaurus decided to side with Jungle Boy, or at the very least not protect Christian, right? Because we should not necessarily jump to the conclusion that Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy are friends again, right? But I don't understand why we're deciding to go down this route and sort of muddy up some fairly simple, compelling storytelling that could have been used to build this match being Jungle Boy versus Christian. It's the way I was seeing this. This is the way I was portraying. Of course, the payoff is Jungle Boy versus Christian. Now, first of all, Jungle Boy comes out, huge pop, huge reaction, of course, because Christian's being a dick. Everybody hates Christian now, and he's been talking shit about Jungle Boy and his dead dad. So of course he comes back. People are like, there's our boy. He's back. This is our hero. Our hero's back. But why did we muddy the waters here? This is all I'm asking. Why did we muddy the waters with this situation when it could have been just as simple as Christian puts Luchasaurus in Jungle Boy's way. You beat Luchasaurus, you can get your match with me. And we have that at a special edition of AEW Dynamite on the road to All Out. And Jungle Boy has to face his old friend who is now a beast that spits fire, who's all dark and black now, Emosaurus. The days of Dino 210 are gone. They have to fight each other. And despite the fact that he's overpowered, Jungle Boy overcomes and finally gets to face the final boss, the mastermind, the son of a bitch, Christian, at All Out. Like, sometimes, all I'm saying is that sometimes the simplest stories are the best. And you can tell that this is the moment they want. This is the launching pad for Jungle Boy Jack Perry here. This is the moment that they want to push him into the singles division and give him the pillars push that should have come maybe a while ago. At least he's the last of these four pillars to not get a singles push, right? So I'm just looking at all of this. I'm like, well, I feel like this could have been really, really simple and really, really compelling. Like, just really, really good. I don't know. Wouldn't that have been awesome? But look, we're going to have to wait an extra week. We're going to have to wait 1 week to see what's going to happen. Christian will probably come to the ring, maybe with Luchasaurus, and berate him for not helping. But I think it's an unnecessary wrinkle. I think Jungle Boy coming back, trying to get to Christian, and Luchasaurus, doing what he has to do, beats the shit out of him. The Gun Club are interviewed backstage, and they challenge Max Caster to a rap battle on Rampage. I hope you guys are enjoying this sports entertainment, all these great sports entertainment segments. At least I'm consistent, because I've been telling you guys, the Acclaim, the Gun Club, it's not for me. I always thought it was too sports entertaining, and look at what they're doing here. A rap battle? Come on, hit the bricks. Jesus Christ. We get I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. No, it seems not. Okay. We get a great segment with Chris Statlander, Athena, and Willow Nightingale backstage. And I thought it was a really good little interview segment. All the ladies boosting themselves because since Lila Gray, the interim baddie, is not medically cleared to wrestle, the match, instead of being a trios match, is now a tag team match. And Stokely Hathaway has made it so that Chris Statlander won't be part of the match. So it's Athena and Willow. They're going to be fighting a little later on. We get the Ring of Honor. The Ring of Honor tag team champions. FTR in the ring. Look, FTR are over. They are over. They have never been this over. And I'm going to tell you, they're over because they decided to do what they do best, and that is be pro wrestlers. And I will agree that Dax is carrying a lot of the weight in this. Dax is the most charismatic. He has the most poise when it comes to promos. His delivery is fantastic. He speaks from the heart. Cash is good. Dax is the man, like, as far as their promos go, right? He's the guy with the emotion. He's the guy who feels real. So they're coming out. They cut these extraordinary promos like they did last night. They come out and they kick ass. They do pro wrestling. And that's what's getting them over. Not fucking goofy costumes, not doing comedy bits where the fucking Usos are filming backstage videos of them washing each other's back in the shower, insinuating, some homophobia there. None of that bullshit. Just going out there, wrestling great matches, because you know what? Wrestling fans generally like to watch great wrestling matches. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, this was a fantastic promo to set up the match at Death Before Dishonor against the Briscoes. I talked about it a bit at length earlier. But here, this promo here, Dax talking about his little girl who had a hole in her heart and she had to work hard to close it, or she'd have to have open heart surgery. And now we fight like an 8-year-old girl is a thing. I fucking love this. At Death Before Dishonor, he's going to fight like an 8-year-old girl and beat the Briscoes' ass. And it's going to break my heart even more when the Briscoes win the title. But what a fantastic moment. Like, 2022 has been FTR's year. There is no denying. No denying. And here's an interesting thought, right? Because a couple of weeks ago, we were, the world of wrestling was still on its bullshit with this, who's a better tag team? The Usos or the Young Bucks? Is it the Young Bucks or the Usos? Right? And, I told you guys my stance about the Usos last week or that week, and I still maintain it. We will never know how good the Usos are. We will never know how good the Usos are because they are big fish in a small pond. And I think we have proof positive in regards to FTR, who wrestled everywhere at this point, who did the Fed, came to AEW, who, did a bit of work on the indies, work in the ROH, all sorts of guys, all wrestling, all sorts of tag teams, some that are considered the greatest in the world. And they are holding their own. They are growing. They are getting better. They're getting themselves over. Okay? If the Usos were to do that, we could probably have a proper conversation. But FTR, for a lot of people, just because of that weird time they spent on main roster, everyone was like, no, they're not that great. They're not that great. They're not that great. Well, they were like, yeah, well, fuck you. We'll prove to you how great we are. And look at where we're at. Most over tag team in the world right now. There's not a tag team on the planet that is more over than they are. Collecting championships everywhere. They are cementing right now, right before our eyes, how great they are. Now, if they had stayed in the Fed, I would be probably having the same type of thought about them. We don't know how great FTR can be because they're fighting the New Day and fucking Los Lotharios in rotation every 2 months. So I don't know how great they are. It's the same thing with the Usos. Magical Sugar Rabbit, so come me. Thank you for throwing a wrench in my theory, darling. Yeah, because Magical Sugar Rabbits are pretty fucking over. Not gonna lie. Anyway, that's my point. See, my point being is that what FTR have done is exactly the point that I make when I talk about the Usos is that if you are in the Fed bubble, I don't know how great you are as far as it, because tag teams do not thrive in WWE. There's no such thing. It hasn't been for years anyway. I remember a time when tag team wrestling in the Fed was fantastic. Fucking time ago. Backstage, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh, who are interviewed, and none of this matters. It is the most consistently uninteresting story being hyped week after week. I talked about it earlier in my Death Before Dishonor preview. So nothing has changed here. Lethal is fighting Christopher Daniels on Friday. Who cares? Then we got a tag team match where the baddies, Jade Cargill and Kiera Hogan, defeated Athena and Willow Nightingale. And this match was a lot of fun, strong, well put together, and heat to it, energy. Everything connected here. Jade coming down to the ring, walking down to the ring, takes a mic away from Stokely Hathaway. Do you know the balls that you need? Do you really realize the balls that you require to take a microphone from Stokely Hathaway and say, brother, I am going to cut a better promo than you. And she cuts a fire promo for her Atlanta peeps, and just fantastic. Everyone got excited about it. Willow got a lot of offense in on Kiera Hogan here. It's the basement body slam, crossbody, double blockbuster off the apron on Hogan and Cargill by our girl. Just fantastic stuff. Then Athena with a diving crossbody to the floor. The baby faces are cooking. They're just cooking. Ooh, they're cooking good stuff. They ain't cooking spam fritters, I'll tell you what. Tornado DDT by Kiera Hogan. Spine buster by Willow Nightingale. We got Jade and Athena that trade forearms in the ring. Jade strolls away from a drop kick. God, I love that. And she kicks Athena. Athena goes for a flying crossbody. She's caught and right into a sack of shit. Meteora by Athena, and the crowd is on their feet for this exchange. Just fantastic. Blue Thunder Bomb by Jade Cargill on Willow Nightingale, who gets the win by using the Jade. Just a great, very strong, fun match. I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I was like, I hope to hell Anthony Khan is backstage and he's looking at Athena. He's looking at the crowd popping up on its feet for Athena and Jade Cargill going at it. And it's the same thing we've been talking about for fucking months at this point. You put the right women in these positions and people are going to want more of it. It's so simple. And Athena, experienced. She's good. She's been around the block. She's trained with Booker T. She's done the Fed. She knows how to work TV. She's someone that you put in a ring with Jade, and Jade is in capable hands. You don't, not like with fucking Marina Shafir, who has, on top of a lack of experience and carrying someone like Jade, has no charisma, has zero heat. The stars are there. The people, the women that people want to see are there. Tony. Thunderstorm are interviewed backstage. We learned that we're getting Miyu Yamashita's match on Dynamite versus Thunder Rosa next week. Get hype. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter come in to mock them again. You know, at some point, they're gonna have to create like a booth in these reality shows, where these confession cams. You fucking Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter away. All right, so we're at the biggin. We're at the main event. Let me take a sip of water here, if you don't mind. Barbed wire death match. Chris Jericho defeated Eddie Kingston. I don't want anyone to fool you, okay? You can trust your buddy Warren here on this one, okay? Don't let anyone fool you. This match was not good. This match fell apart, and it fell apart really, really quickly, and it devolved into shit. This was not a good match. From the moment they showed us Ruby Soho, Eddie's Ruby, sitting at ringside with the controls in her hand, I was like, oh, there's going to be shit. There's going to be some bullshit. There's going to be some bullshit. Some fuckery. Spot of the match was Eddie Kingston suplexing Chris Jericho off the apron through a table. That ruled. Ty runs out to attack Ruby Soho. Anna Jay runs in to prevent her from attacking Ruby Soho. No! She's still best friends with Ty, so she's a heel now, and they both double team Ruby Soho to get the controls off of her so that they can lower the cage and free the members of the Jericho Appreciation Society who were in the cage. Ty has the key, and the great tradition of wrestlers being unable to unlock padlocks in our great sport, in the sport of kings. It continued. I don't even blame it. You can't even blame Ty. There is a long, long legacy of wrestlers being unable to unlock things. It's funny just because it happened. And then this is where it all falls apart, really. The Jericho Appreciation Society come to attack Kingston. Babyface is aligned with Eddie Kingston running for the save. They clear the ring, but then Sammy Guevara shows up and commentary asks, "Oh my God, he's back!" Like, Christ, he was gone 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops. Like, I did, you know, it's not as if he's been out for a month, for 2 months. Comes to save Chris Jericho from tapping in the stretch plum. The ending, honestly, the ending to this match was messy, uncoordinated. It was all over the place, just blowing shit. But then the worst part, this is the most egregious part to me. Chris Jericho gets the win doing the Judas effect with barbed wire. And the Judas effect is super protected. So fuck you. You didn't need the barbed wire. But the worst part is that Eddie stood tall at the end of the match, right? Because after the match, he threw Chris Jericho onto a plank full of barbed wire, right? So he stood tall. But if you're going to have Eddie Kingston stand tall, have him win the fucking match. Just have him win the match. This smacks. And again, your boy has no inside knowledge. Not going to pretend that I'm plugged into the system here. But this smacks of, this ain't going to work for me, brother. Or I'm going to need my win back, brother. And all of this ending did was deflate whatever strands of air. No, you don't put strands. There's no such thing as a strand of air. Whatever particles of air were left in this balloon that was this match. Very, very disheartening stuff. It was overbooked. It was a mess. And this was the blow off to the Eddie Kingston Jericho feud. This is what it was supposed to be. Don't excuse this match. Don't try and wrap your brain and create some headcanon around it. This was bad. It was a bad match, and it was bad resolution. Okay? But Warren, what? They're going to finish this feud at All Out. How? How can they possibly do more when this was clearly set up to be a blow-off? What is the next step on top of this? You know, we get cranky when WWE pulls out Hell in a Cell, but it's not the blow-off match. You know, I'm not comparing this to Hell in a Cell, but you know, it's like, this was built as the blow-off. This has been something that's been simmering and stretched out for months. We had the blood and guts match and so on and so forth. We had Anarchy in the Arena. We got the whole 9 yards. This is how you blow it off? With Eddie not winning? It's so strange. And do we get more months of this then? But Warren, it all makes sense. How? Eddie wanted Jericho to bleed for his sins, for what he did to Ruby, so he got what he wanted. Yeah, but he didn't get the win. And that's what he wanted ultimately. Otherwise, he could have just have him bleed, beat him up, rub some barbed wire on his head and like, I'm good, and walk back. Why did he continue fighting if he didn't want the win? Come on now. And see, this is the type of reasoning that goes beyond pro wrestling. Why have a referee then? Why have a result, a 3 count, a submission? Because we continue on because we want a winner. There's no meta to this. He just wanted to. No, he wanted the win. He wanted the win. This had all the feelings and the trapping of a blow-off, but yet here we are trying to say, but clearly the feud isn't over. Let's for the sake of the theory here, let's just say that this wasn't planned to be the blow-off. Who wants another month of Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho? The big blow-off is at All Out, dude. Clearly, I refuse to believe that was the plan. The booking is better than this. This was supposed to be the blow-off, and it was treated like a clusterfuck. I wouldn't have minded Jericho getting the win outside of all these ridiculous shenanigans. I had a good laugh when he did his Painmaker thing. I think it's corny. Makes me laugh. Doesn't make me scared. Doesn't make me go, aggressive Jericho. And I'm like, my good friend Emily Fear on Twitter called it the draw the crow from memory makeup. Which is, this match was not good. The result was not good. The finish was overbooked and a complete and total disaster. And this could not be the point moving forward where this was like, but we got one more. We've got one more match in the chamber for this one. I really feel like Jericho has this, because you remember last year with the whole MJF stuff, when MJF had beaten him a couple of times, but then we had out of nowhere Chris Jericho challenging MJF at All Out for one more match, and I just have to beat you this one time. And Jericho went in and beat him, and like, what was this for? Who was this for? For Jericho to feel good about getting a win back? I'm not privy to any information. It's just a gut feeling, but I'm seeing a pattern here. I'm seeing a pattern of Jericho seemingly doing the right thing right up until he wants his win back. I'm like, I don't think this was the right decision. I really don't think this was the right decision. Anyway, very so-so episode of Dynamite with, thank God there is some great wrestling going on this show on Dynamite week after week. But if I do not see a cake spot on AEW for years, it won't be too soon. Lots of sports entertainment tonight that I couldn't care less about. And I mean it. There's another show. There's another show out there that does 7 hours of sports entertainment a week, and I'll go there if I want it. That's not why I watch Dynamite. That's not why I like the show. It's not why I love the show. I just realized I didn't do the weekly wrestling inspection theme. but we'll do it as we're going out because technically we're done with the weekly wrestling inspection. Yeah, that's right. And I completely cleared my sinuses, and you all heard that, and that was fantastic. Wait a second, Warren, what are you doing? Your microphone's hot. What are you doing? What a pro. Well, look, I'm a pro for sticking through the heat and up to 3 hours of streaming tonight. I'm a pro. Whatever. I don't care what my parents say. But I do care about you guys, especially those who stuck around to the very end here. Thank you very much for joining me. One last shot, one last like, one last whatever would be very much appreciated. A review on your favorite podcast application, on Apple Podcasts, a 5-star rating on Spotify. All those things would help out a great deal. But thank you all very much. So, hey, stay tuned for more G1 coverage over the course of the weekend. Remember to come see me hang out with the Between Two Beards boys this Saturday morning. I don't know, between 7 and 9 a.m., something like that. I don't know. I'll pop in at some point, or 10. I don't know. It's the weekend. I do what I want. But come have breakfast with us. That'll be fun over on twitch.tv/LoveWrestlingCA. Be sure to be there. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me, and see you next time.